about it in the context of this. I do wonder if one of the things that is hurting it is that while it is a female-led action movie, in a way, even more so than Fury Road was, because Fury Road was a two-hander where even the Dude Bros still had Mad Max there to hold their hand.
Right.
And the impressive thing about the Furiosa character there is how she's shoulder to shoulder with them, punch for punch, shot for shot. And Furiosa does not have that necessarily. I mean, yeah, there's Praetorian Jack in there, but this is not a two-hander with him the way that Fury Road is all the way through. I mean, even if you count Nux in there, there's two guys in that truck doing a lot of the action stuff with her. Now, and I wonder to what extent that we want to make the case always that you can do action movies with women.
Yes. Duh. Yes, of course you can.
And you can, but is it a harder thing to make action movies actually for women? And maybe Furiosa, because it is sort of a solo female-led project, it presents itself as an action. It's trying to be an action movie for women, and maybe action movies are not necessarily for women. Or they're not. You have to do more than just put a woman in the driver's seat of the war rig to make it actually more appealing to women. Does this make any sense?
Yes. No, it does. I mean, we can just kind of fall to gender stereotypes and be like, it's the equivalent of making a rom-com for men. They don't do that too often. It's just the action genre is coded as a male thing. Now, obviously, women like them, and they're very profitable, and they're probably, going to keep getting made, and more than rom-coms, which apparently, I don't know, they're having a little comeback. But the point being, I think most action movies now, they are trying to be for men. The larger ones, like Furiosa, want to be for everyone. Right?
Well, they would like to be. I mean, especially
Bad Boys for Life doesn't give a shit about women.
Oh, that's okay. Fair, fair
enough. They're going for a specific audience with that kind of film. This is kind of bigger than that, though. This wants to be a multi audience blockbuster film that makes I don't know what they were hoping for, $200 million with this thing, something like that.
I'm sure they were hoping for big. Then it would beat Fury Road, which
is not a huge hit. That made like 180 or something like that.
I think it did really, because I think it played overseas for quite a while, and
I mean, they wouldn't have made a sequel if it wasn't profitable in some way, But
I mean, it's also one of the most praised movies.
Yes,
like I could, and again with the depths of IP barrels they're scraping,
fair enough.
Of course, they would go with that. But speaking of scraping my IP barrels, one of the things I was thinking about, you mentioned rom-coms. There is some precedent for Bridesmaids, for example, being sort of a let's do a Apatow movie, but just put women in instead of men. And they didn't change much else, and that was a huge hit. It worked. And I haven't seen Girls Trip. It seems like that's sort of just let's do a sort of like a guy's guy comedy, but with a group of women, and it kind of works that way.
Well, niche audiences, yeah. I mean, there's there's smaller and smaller versions of that throughout, but action movies tend to cost a lot. Is the thing. A
ton. And we have been getting more female-led action movies. There are the various, Red Sparrow and anything where Charlize or Jennifer Lawrence or Scarlett Johansson is an assassin.
We have two legit female action stars right now, which is Charlize and Scarlett.
But those movies don't hit as big.
Not usually. I mean, Scarlett kind of has, Black Widow numbers to boost that. Well,
so this is what I'm getting to. My example, the other thing I was thinking of was the Marvel universe and how that has sort of gone awry in phases 4 and 5. And I think there's many different things you can point to for why that might be. But one of the big ones I feel is they had their genius idea, which was, all right, our original generation of heroes are getting old and their contracts are getting too expensive and so forth. So let's have all the middle-aged men hand off the heroic mantle to a spunky young girl character. And
It was weird when it happened like the fourth time. Yes.
Yeah, that was their only idea for a whole phase. And some of them worked better than others. The Black Widow, I think it worked pretty well. One, because it wasn't a full blown teenager, like that they got a really good actress to do it. There's a context for Black Widow where it makes sense that there's other female assassins, and there's more of a sisterly thing. I think the Hawkeye transition went pretty well, and then there's a lot of just kind of duds. And I mean, part of that, I think there is a sort of irresistible pull to the idea that, well, we made the most successful thing in the world by catering to teenage boys. There's all these teenage girls out there too. So we could just double the audience and we would have double all the money in the world.
Right.
And like, how could you say no to that logic in a boardroom? But I think there's another aspect to it, which is there was a lot of people giving him flack for quite a while about how, it's all these white guys and at the helms of these Marvel movies, and
several Chris's. Yes.
yes. I mean, which is a fair comp.
Yeah.
And I think there might have been a mistaking at the boardroom level. Partially understandable because there's such a huge financial impetus to want it to be true, but a mistaking for like volume of criticism to translate into actual appetite for the thing that you're being criticized for missing. Like, because people are saying like, oh, these movies are so just geared towards boys, that means that people are chomping at the bit to see a version of it that was with girls. And I don't know that that's panned out.
I think they were, though. And I think they just kind of like kept bringing back more food. And, it's like, oh, more here, have some more of these movies. And they weren't good. I think if they were, if these movies had been better, and not even to say that they were shitty, just that they weren't great.
Yeah, but
some were shitty. If they had, kept quality control up, none were great, I think is big. The TV quadrant, I mean, Disney Plus, it's amazing that we kind of lived through an age where just like almost every major studio decided they needed streaming money and just destroyed all their IP with oversaturation.
I mean, Disney Plus has been a huge offender on that. Like it,
amazing.
It's a bit of a weird object lesson for how you can sort of degrade and destroy your own IP without ever producing like a giant bomb. Like, it doesn't take a Heaven's Gate to take down a studio, but you just need quality control. And it's weird. Like, people did not associate Marvel, in phases 1, 2, 3 with extraordinary quality. It was more like the rap on them even then was, well, they're never transcendent, but they're always pretty good.
I contend those were extremely well-made movies. It's like
I do too.
Phase 3, they're kind of incredibly well-made, and we just took them a little bit for granted. But they wouldn't have been just world-crushingly successful if they hadn't been really, really good at what they were doing.
I agree, actually, that we've been over that in other contexts too. Right. But and you're right. It's hard. You can't separate out one factor over we have COVID.
Yeah,
you have just. I think you're right, actually, to highlight just the incredible. I mean, people were already kind of saying like, we're getting so many Marvel movies before Disney Plus came along and quadrupled the like total amount of hours of Marvel content that were being pumped at us every year. At a time when theaters were also shutting down because of the pandemic, and like it felt like everything else was slowing down, and this fire hose was speeding up, and also they weren't as good anymore.
Yeah,
and so it's hard to separate that out.
Factors. Trump had something to do with it, I'm sure. Yeah. It's everything. It's just a perfect storm of reasons why this went down the way it did.
But I do wonder if if there was something that maybe their action movies are maybe more tailored to male taste, male psyche, whatever, like at a deeper level than just having boys in the lead roles.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, not a lot of women are like, I fucking love Terminator 2. I mean, there's some, but it's not a trans. Yeah. Well, that one's a bad example. Aliens, let's say. Aliens, you could say that's a woman's action movie. Not really. It's a guy's action movie that stars.
Well, why not Fury Road as the example?
Well, sure. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. That brings us back to what we're here to talk about ostensibly. Yeah. And
that's what, I think, I mean, I'm trying not to give us much credit as male film dorks.
Yeah, right. Well.
That here's my contention. Maybe Furiosa, if it had come out in 2015, would not have done as well with our contention because we just wouldn't have seen it in quite the same droves if it didn't have Tom Hardy there to guide us in and to ease us into cheering for a woman and all that. And
it's a deeply weird movie.
It is. Well, yeah. Okay, here's my other thing about Fury Road being a little overpraised.
Okay.
One, I think there is